Recap of Friday Night Smackdown for January the 22nd, 2021. We are just over a week away until the Royal Rumble pay-per-view. A lot to discuss, so let's get right to it. Shout out to the chat room, everybody watching this live, and everybody watching on demand. I appreciate your viewership and support. We kicked off SmackDown with a recap of last week's show, and then Roman Reigns came to the ring for a promo. He said that we would not see Kevin Owens on the show because he said so. Reigns said the whole card subject to change line that Adam Pearce used last week is how losers think. He doesn't miss appearances, although he did bring up the obvious absence last year. He said it took his health being at risk during a pandemic for him to miss any work. Other than that, he's been there constantly. His body's hurting. His back is hurting him from all the years of carrying WWE. And Adam Pearce finally shows up and said that this is all getting out of control. Reigns said what is out of control is Adam Pearce favoring Kevin Owens. He's basically KO's bitch. Reigns said that Adam Pearce has not been in a match for 6 years and yet was still complaining about being hurt. Reigns said he's been hurting for years and has never complained. And he said, "No wonder you did not make it in WWE." Ouch. Heyman laughed at this, and Pearce got offended. He said that he can take the humiliation from Reigns, but not Heyman. Heyman said he'll whoop Pearce's ass if Pearce disrespects the tribal chief. And then Heyman challenged Pearce to a match on SmackDown. Pearce shook Heyman's hand and accepted the challenge. So we had Adam Pearce versus Paul Heyman as the main event for this week's SmackDown. Interesting show with that main event. And also, we had on this show Bayley versus Bianca Belair in an obstacle course challenge, which we'll talk about here in just a few minutes. Nick Lavin says, "Nice shirt." Well, thank you. I appreciate that, Nick. We had Sami Zayn arrive with his camera crew. He's filming this documentary about the injustice, how he's been screwed over by the company. He handcuffed himself to the barricade and he held up a sign that said "Justice for Sami." He got on the mic and said he is in fact entering the Royal Rumble, but that still doesn't make up for the fact that he got screwed over in the match against Apollo Crews last week. But before he could really say much of anything else, we had Asuka make her arrival for a tag team match. The WWE Women's Tag Team Champs, Charlotte and Asuka versus the Riot Squad. No entrance for the Riot Squad, so you know what that means. You had Natalya and Tamina watching the match in the back. Billie Kay was out there with the Riot Squad, and at first her distractions were working. Charlotte actually tried to grab at Billie, and Liv took advantage of the situation. Asuka eventually got the hot tag, and then Billie attempted to once again interfere. She got on the apron. However, this time it backfired because Ruby possibly had Asuka beat, but the referee was distracted by Billie being on the apron. Charlotte tagged herself back in, hit the natural selection, and picked up the victory over Ruby Riott. Backstage, Billie apologized. She said she went to Sonya Deville and got Ruby and Liv spots in the Royal Rumble match. However, Ruby said that the Riot Squad was better when it was just her and Liv. And the two of them took off, leaving poor Billie high and dry. Real quick, guys, I do want to plug the No DQ Twitch stream No DQ Twitch stream. We are live. It is going to be back-to-back this weekend, Saturday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. I will be joined by Wade Needham of ringscoops.com, the voice of No DQ CAW. We will be discussing our favorite and least favorite wrestling video games. That is Saturday. And then Sunday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific on the Twitch channel, twitch.com/NoDQDOTCOM. I will be streaming the No DQ CAW Spring Cleaning Mega Event from 2005, which featured a triple threat TLC, Triforce TLC match, Las Vegas Link versus Mr. Clean versus Spider-Man. CAW Fantasy Video Game Wrestling. Check it out. Twitch.tv/NoDQDOTCOM. Now that I got the plugs out of the way, back to the recap. We had a Daniel Bryan promo for the Royal Rumble. Talked about how he feels alive getting to compete in this match, and brought up how the winner gets to choose the champion of their choosing at WrestleMania. Brought up how he's never won a Royal Rumble. He was interrupted by Cesaro. Cesaro said Bryan is not winning the Rumble. He is. Bryan was ready to fight right there, but Cesaro said he already beat Bryan. And thus, he is going to challenge somebody else. Besides, Bryan was dressed up, was not dressed to compete. Dolph Ziggler, one half of the tag team champions, issued the challenge. And Ziggler brought up how he's been in the second most Rumbles of anybody in history. And said his stamina is unmatched. You can ask anybody about him being able to go all night long. I'll take his word for it. And he said only Cesaro can measure up, but not Daniel Bryan, because Bryan, well, it ain't 2014 anymore. We had this match, Cesaro and we had Cesaro and Ziggler. See, I forgot who was fighting Cesaro for a second. That's how much of an afterthought Dolph Ziggler has been in WWE. I just talked about him, and then I literally forgot that he was Cesaro's opponent. So anyways, Bryan was on commentary, and Cesaro did the big swing, did a lot of rotations with it. And speaking of forgetting things, see, I thought I was bad. Michael Cole forgot that Bryan faced Cesaro last week and took the swing, because Michael Cole asked Bryan if Bryan had ever been in Cesaro's swing, and Bryan was like, well, I wrestled him last week. So Michael Cole, fail on that, but hey, I'm with you. I got my own fails. Lots of back and forth here. They traded near fall after near fall, roll up after roll up. But then Sami Zayn was on the outside there, and he was continuing to make a scene. However, it did not impact the finish of this match. We had Cesaro hit the neutralizer to pick up the victory. And Psycho Jet Black says, I thought both Cesaro and Ziggler were heels. Why are they fighting each other? I guess just to change things up. I'm not complaining because it's something different. I'm all for different. If it's heel versus heel every now and then, whatever. Just changing things up is nice. So, not going to complain about that. Curtis Butler said, great wrestling match. And he also says Cesaro with the no was funny as hell. We had Sasha Banks versus Carmella's assistant, Reginald. Reginald wanted to be a gentleman, but Sasha was having none of it. She slapped him, and she tried to finish him off early, but he kept doing these somersault escapes. He kept flipping and doing all this flippy shit like he's in New Japan or AEW trying to get a 6-star match. He's doing tons of somersaults to avoid the offense of Sasha Banks. It was pretty entertaining. This match was way more entertaining than I thought it would be. And Sasha finally managed to hit a bulldog on him and a meteora to the outside. Sasha knocked the champagne out of Carmella's hand at ringside, and then got on the bank statement, and Reggie tapped out. But yeah, I was surprisingly entertained by this. Reginald, he can do all the flips. The question is, will he get the stars for those flips? I guess time will tell. And yeah, it was an intergender match, although we really did not have any offense from Reginald. It was basically just escaping everything Sasha was trying to do to him. We had Roman Reigns backstage with Paul Heyman, and Reigns was not happy because Heyman went against what Reigns wanted. Reigns did not tell Heyman to issue a challenge. He just wanted Heyman to verbally smack down Adam Pearce. And he said he hired a man to be his special consul, not his punk. And he told Heyman to take care of business and seemingly left the Thunderdome. We had Big E versus Apollo Crews. No entrance for Apollo. You know what that means. We had Big E going right after Apollo, superplexing him right when the bell rang. And then Apollo quickly got the upper hand, catching him with a kick. Hit a standing moonsault, got a near fall. And then Apollo hit a series of rolling Germans. And then all of a sudden, Sami Zayn on the outside, we've been seeing him throughout the evening. He unlocked himself from the handcuff, got in the ring, and attacked both guys. Hit the haluva kick to both of them, basically hijacking the match. And I wonder if he's going to get rewarded now by being added to a triple threat match at the Royal Rumble. Seems like it's one of those kind of angles where the guy ruins everything and then he has to pay for it. But he's not the champ, so he actually gains something from being added to the match. And Curtis Butler even says a 3-way for the IC title. And Gary says, I'm tired of these damn interferences in solid title matches. It's overkill and very annoying. Well, I was okay with this because the match was short. I hate it when they're really long matches and then they get ended with a DQ. But this one was really fast-paced, clearly because they were doing the DQ finish. So I was okay with it. And Sami Zayn, getting the heel heat by sabotaging a good match between these guys. I was okay with it. Backstage, the Street Profits presented a fruit basket to the assistant to the general manager, or whatever the hell Adam Pearce is these days. A fruit basket to assistant official Sonya Deville. And they basically wanted a rematch, but she said, while they definitely deserve a rematch, Montez, his leg is not 100%, and Sonya thinks it's better if other teams get the opportunity for now until Montez is ready to go. So she happily took away her fruit basket, and the Profits just glared at each other, disappointed that their, I guess, way to butter her up did not work out in their favor. We had Michael Cole hosting and yeah, people in the chat room saying, what other teams? Curtis Butler and Psycho Jet Black. What other teams? Good point. Michael Cole hosted the obstacle course challenge between Bayley and Bianca Belair, but Bayley basically had Michael Cole take a hike, explain the rules. There was a tire you had to flip, these hurdles you had to jump over, climbing the walls, picking up Chad Gable for a fireman's carry and walking across the ringside area, and then putting a basketball through the hoop. Bayley was first. She took her time, didn't really do a great job. She skipped over the walls. She missed her first basket, but then finally got it in, and she was done with I think it was a minute and 12 seconds, something like that. Then Bayley announced that for Bianca's turn, the course was going to be customized, i.e. more difficult. There were bigger hurdles, and Bianca had an easy time with it. She jumped over the hurdles very easily, flipped over the tire very easily, climbed the wall very easily. But then the other surprise, instead of Chad Gable, she had to carry Otis in the fireman's carry, and she still managed to pull that off. She got the basketball. Bayley tried to grab the basketball, but Bianca sidestepped her, got the basket taken care of, got the ball in the basket, and won the challenge. But then Bayley threw the basketball at Bianca and beat the crap out of her. This reminded me of that MVP versus Matt Hardy segment that Psycho Jet Black mentioned in the chat room. But you know what? They haven't done something like this in 13, 14 years. And it was way better than the stuff with the Viking Raiders and Street Profits. This was pretty entertaining. And Psycho Jet Black says, do you think that basketball held a grudge? I would hope not. I mean, Batista said they don't hold grudges, but Bayley threw that ball very hard at Bianca. If that basketball was going to hold a grudge, I would think Bayley would be in some trouble. But she'll probably be okay because Batista's a very wise man and would know if basketballs hold grudges or not. And Rob Klein says the ball don't lie. We had Rey Mysterio backstage with his son Dominic. He wanted to give Dominic some pointers for the match against King Corbin, but Dominic wanted to do it on his own, and Rey said, well, if this doesn't work out, it's going to be his way the next time. So we had Dominic versus King Corbin, and almost a squash match here. Dominic got a little bit of offense in, but Corbin countered the 619 attempt and punched Dominic and then hit the end of days to pick up the victory. What's going on with Buddy Murphy? We haven't seen him in a long time. Is he just off TV until Rollins comes back and we're going to get the continuation of that storyline? I would rather see Seth Rollins return as a face, but I'm more intrigued about that than this whole thing with Corbin. Although, interestingly enough, this was Dominic's first match, I think, with somebody that wasn't Seth Rollins or Buddy Murphy. And his first match in a couple of months, I believe. But yeah, he basically got squashed here. And I guess next week it's back to the drawing board. And Rey Mysterio will be taking charge of the strategy. We had our main event segment, which was Adam Pearce versus Paul Heyman, or what we thought was going to be Adam Pearce versus Paul Heyman. Heyman had his fists wrapped up, ready to go, but then he tripped over the steel steps. The referee checked on him. He said he was fine. And then Heyman tripped a second time and then just said, card subject to change. It was all a setup. Roman Reigns was the replacement. He hit a Superman punch to Adam Pearce, and he grabbed the steel steps, but then Pearce took an opportunity and punched Reigns in the face. However, Reigns hit a low blow, sending Pearce down, threw Pearce over the barricade, and then was taking Pearce to that area where he threw Owens off the staging area by the Thunderdome screens. And that's when Kevin Owens showed up. Owens ran down. It was believed that Owens was not going to be there. And earlier in the show, Owens even cut a promo talking about how he was not allowed in the building. Reigns pulled some strings, but at the Royal Rumble, there would be no more strings for Reigns to pull. But somehow he made it into the building, and he beat the crap out of the tribal chief. He hit a stunner in the ring, and then hit a second stunner on the outside of the ring. Referees were trying to break up the fight, the beatdown, but Owens just kept coming at Reigns. And then he did the pop-up powerbomb to Reigns through the announce table, standing tall as SmackDown went off the air. Pretty solid angle here to set up Kevin Owens as a credible challenger for Reigns. And yeah, I did like Reigns going through the table. I thought that was well done. We don't see Roman Reigns getting beat down on SmackDown too often. Interestingly enough, no Jey Uso on this show. I wonder what that's all about. He was pretty much on every SmackDown since he started his push with Reigns, and we did not see him this week. But yeah, I'll talk about predictions next week on Tuesday, 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. No DQ predictions for the Royal Rumble. Should be a very fun live stream. Good show overall. I enjoyed it. I give it a solid B. Everything with Roman Reigns was, again, quality stuff. I like Heyman and Reigns attempting to screw over Adam Pearce, but then Kevin Owens making the save. Curtis Butler with a B. Caleb Jacobs with a B, and Lewis, MVP, Kev, and Marvin. Well, Marvin gave it a B minus. The others gave it a B. Mohammed with a B, and Amanda with a B. Rob Klein with an A plus. There you go. Rob Klein being very positive about SmackDown. CC Drink with an A, and Kevin with a C. And Michael Wayne says better than AEW. And Ace and his familiar vlog says B plus. Love the Cesaro match. So anyways, guys, thank you for tuning in to the SmackDown recap. I definitely recommend checking it out, especially the Roman Reigns stuff. Cesaro's match was a lot of fun with, what's his name? Oh, Dolph Ziggler, one half of the tag team champions. Subscribe to No DQ or follow the No DQ Twitch stream channel, whatever it's called, twitch.tv/NoDQ, DOTCOM, and I will see you guys next time.